Hi there and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Monday, June 6th, 2022, and the topic for the day is called Cloud and Quotes Camouflage. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening May 20th through June 1st, 2022, and this is show number 155. Now, this is a very intriguing cover slide. We're going to get into it in the show later. I also have an alternate cover slide that I found fun for a lot of reasons in terms of the color and the forms that started emerging. See which one you like better. Now we are going to start the whole show off with two words, wisdom and spirit of the day pages this time around. The first one starts off with Sassafras Roots. I just got my hands on some freshly foraged ones, and I'm very happy to have them because I plan on making a really nice sassafras tea in the next week. I'll let you know how that goes if I think to take photos of it, and I'll share it with you. Otherwise, I just pulled a quote from a website I found, the healingwatersclinic.com site, and they sell herbs and traditional Chinese medicine things up in Florida, North Florida somewhere. Anyway, here's the quote, just to get the discussion rolling here. So, sassafras as a tree is an herb that has many uses to humans, and no part of the tree is without benefit, nor does it go to waste. This herb is the root bark, often used to make root beer, and is featured in Creole cuisine. Native Americans also use the tree in many different aspects of their society, from fire starting to color dyes. Now, this wood, the wood itself of the sassafras tree, also has a lot of lore and fascinating stories associated with it, especially in terms of how the new American colonies were exporting it over to England and Europe, and how they used it, what kind of superstitions were involved with it. Lots of good stories going on there. So I invite you to root around a little bit on the internet and take a look at what's going on there. Now, also, I want to mention that if you're familiar with the United States of America, there's a three-letter agency that goes like FDA. Now, for whatever reason, they're trying to ban the use of the sassafras root, which I find really hysterical that somebody would have the nerve to audacity to try to ban a plant, for people using it, a natural plant. Anyhow, you know that the reasons are very self-serving and nothing to do about helping the people, especially when, excuse me, the main ingredient they're trying to ban in there can also be found in other things like nutmeg. So use your own logic and reasoning, your own common sense, your free thinking brain, please, and you can put two and two together with what is going on there when you see things like that on the internet. Now, that doesn't matter to me. I'm trying out my beautiful tea. Doing it also because the last time I had sassafras tea made from the wild was back when I was really small. We were camping somewhere in Michigan, and a little nature guide was with us, and he, found the right leaf pattern, found the right tree, and just proceeded to dig up some of the root, shell off the outer bark with a pocket knife, threw it into a boiling pot of water, and we all enjoyed some beautiful sassafras tea right out there in the campsite. It was really nice. So for whatever reason, I'm being called to try it again, so I cannot wait to do that. All right, now we're going to look at Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day, page number 2. And this is actually a video clip, and I'm just captioning it, Finding Your Place in the Sun. But as you watch it, see what you would have done, or what angle, what kind of message you're getting out of it. I'm going to play it once through with my own narration, and then I'll play it again with no narration, and maybe you can fill in some blanks and have some fun with it. All right, so hang on one second first. Okay, I'm back. Now I am narrating this from the perspective of the iguana, but obviously you can switch around the roles and see what fun narrations you could come up with. But here we go. All right, so it's moving along. The duck is like, what's he doing? Is he there? He's still behind me. He's behind me, isn't he? And the iguana is still marching along on a mission to something. This Limpkin here is like, dude, you're in the wrong place. This section is for the birds. And here he goes. I'm calling him he. It can be a she or it, obviously. And there he is, finding his place in the sun. You can almost feel it, like if you were the iguana, that beautiful sun, coming on your face, and how beautiful that feels out in nature. Anyway, let me play it through without any commentary and see what little scene you would come up with. Maybe even switching it around from being the perspective of the duck or the Limpkin. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Now you're going to hear a little bit of a honking, occasional little honking, but loud in the background. Now that is a bird called the common gallinule or a moor hen, and it's sitting somewhere down near the water. And I did show it on a previous show. It's black with a bright red-orange beak, and that thing is insanely loud, but it makes a fun, little honk, so you might want to look for that on the internet on a search as well. All right, now let's get into the sky observations part of the show. It's quite extensive this time around. Actually, I have the most slides I think I've ever included in a show. And that being said, I'm going to try to make it real brief on my own narration. So this might be a show where you have fun with it and just mute out my voice and go through at your own pace and see what you can find. Or by all means, of course, keep my narration on and walk through these slides with me, however you like. And if you're new to the channel, actually if you're new or returning to the channel, thank you so much for being here and welcome. And if you are new, what I do is take photos of the skies around me, whether I'm in Miami typically or traveling, and I really take a good 360 around me, at least 2 to 5 minutes a day, or just when I feel like I'm drawn, like something says go out and take a picture, I'll do it. Now, I take pictures and I just call it original photo on the left-hand side of the screen. And then I go and I do what's called enhanced version, which you can see I've just taken the same photo, and all I've done is edited levels in the attributes of the photo, so of the digital photo. So that means I've just upped the level or lowered the level a little bit on either brightness, contrast, or color saturation. Sometimes I toy with the color temperature and maybe sharpness. And I do that just to draw out things in the photo that you wouldn't normally see. Like here, if I go back, this is the original. Now, I've been doing this long enough that I just sense when things are up in the sky, but with the help of our digital technology, it really helps cut through with photo and light sensitivity and really helps us see a little bit more beyond and pull out some things that we can readily see in the photo that we wouldn't have just seen with the naked eye. So that's all I'm going to say for now. If you want more detail on what I'm doing and why I'm doing it here, do please go have a look at some of my earlier shows. And I also want to take this moment now, too, to say to everybody, I encourage you to go look at other Earth and Sky watching channels out there on YouTube, especially the ones with genuine people like me or yourself who are just going out and faithfully documenting what we see up in the sky. We look up and go, what? That doesn't fit. That's not what I know from decades past on this planet. And we take some pictures or video and we share it with you. So I invite you to do it as well. If you're not doing it already and you want to start a little channel, it's very simple to do. Just get a little program like OBS to make the videos. Get software such as Photoshop, or even just use PowerPoint, and start adjusting some of these levels on your photos too to see what you can find. So I invite you to do that too. Anyway, here we go. So just looking at this right away at 8.1, this point of a triangle pops up and it's backlit with some kind of its own light source. So that was very intriguing. Now I'm going to step back a second. When I said cloud in quotes, and again, my apologies to anyone who's back here who has followed this channel for a while. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm just going to say it for the benefit of anyone who's new. When I say cloud in quotes, I'm referring to suspected cloaking craft. So actually, every single photo that you're going to see that I'm going to present to you, just go with it that I am saying, yes, there's cloaking craft or other types of objects or phenomenon that we cannot explain right at the moment. And I'm going to just call it cloaking craft, okay, with a blanket statement there. Now, the cloaking material I refer to as plasma. That's going to be my go-to. It just means something that's heavier and denser than water vapor that can hang around and kind of cling to things and camouflage things well in the skies. Okay? So anyway, so we've seen 8.1. Now, we're looking at C.1. What I see is a pointed elliptical form in 3 parts, and we've got incised like voids. You see these lines? They're like puzzle pieces, but the overall form is a clear pointed symmetrical ellipse. So when we have rigid geometry, especially symmetrical in the sky, yes, I'm going to say that's of advanced technology, whether it's human, ET, or a collaboration thereof. That's what we're dealing with. It's intelligent design. Now we look down here too. What's happening here? We have a darker form with like a vapor trail, but then a very solid either trapezoidal figure or triangular figure. So I'm going to say that's some type of craft jettisoning out from a bigger craft, or some type of sensor being launched or something of that nature. And then over here at B.1, we have like an arrowhead-shaped form also kind of lingering in the sky. There's a dark form lurking out also here beyond. And so I'm going to say, yes, this whole scene is riddled with things we can't quite explain. And to zoom in one more time at this object that looks like it's coming up out of maybe a craft down here below. Here's that pointed elliptical form I was talking about. And then over at 8.2, we still see that as a sturdy, solid, like arrowhead form peeking up out of here with its own light source behind it. All right, now this one I'm going to kind of fly through. This is looking east and relatively up. The sun is feeling very artificial and glaring, but we have a darker territory happening in here and some weird cloud activity that's just kind of sprung up. And here with enhancement, we can see something different is happening down here. We even get reddish signature, which is very unique. Usually it implies that there's some kind of energy source going on up above the clouds. And then, in contrast to this bright, bright white source, right? And then we've got the gold in between. So I know something's happening up in there. Again, just based on my years of looking at all of these things intently. All right, now what is this? We're looking west into the sky at sunset. I have never known a cloud to do this. It's very loose, all like disintegrated. And here we have a very specific triangular form, equilateral triangle, I'd say, right here at B. So there's nothing natural about this. Now with enhancement, we really pull out that triangle form, a clear triangular form with hard edges here. And what is this? It's almost like a poodle, if that's the snout of the poodle and the head and an ear and the neck, and its two arms are out. It's like a roller, what do I want to say? It's like a skateboarding poodle, even with the leg kicked out, or one that's like on a surfboard or something. It's really kind of crazy, actually. Anyhow, that's just the cloud play fun of it that I'm looking at. But look at the overall sky in general. We got blue, we got white, we've got bright, bright white, which is supposed to be the sun source, but then we've got reds and golds. So just the whole sky just seems a little bit amiss. And now we're going to zoom in a little bit more, and here we see that pure form of that triangle at B.2. I mean, you can't have a cloud in nature that does that. You simply can't. At least not in all the decades I've lived on this planet. Those are not the rules of physics or meteorology or any type of weather behavior I've ever seen that you have a cloud that it can't do that, okay? Then we're going to move in a little bit more, check it out more. Now, if you're on a larger screen, like a laptop screen, you may have to squint your eyes. It gets a little bitmappy. If this is on a handheld device, a smaller, more thumbnail scale of image, you'll probably see it much clearer. So, like I always say in every show, if you're fortunate enough to have both a laptop or bigger screen in front of you and a little handheld device, run the show concurrently, and then just toggle your view up and down between the two, because you're going to see so many different things that you can see on the bigger screen and not on the little, and vice versa. It's just a fun way to watch the show and see more. Find more things going on than what I'm going to cover. I'm definitely going to miss stuff, so I'm just letting you know. Try to catch what I can. Anyway, this is very intriguing, a very rigid structure with intelligent design to it. What else is going on, I'm not sure. See what you think. All right, now this scene is the alternate cover slide when I enhance it. Just, there's no shaped clouds that would like dive down this way while this one's kind of going relatively straight. And it just looked very odd. And then with enhancement, you can really see that's like three different independent shapes or forms kind of being cloaked. You can see the cloaking material kind of going in front of them a little bit. Also different energy signatures. Look, why is this turning into a lot of different color, while everything else is just staying red? It means there's something else happening within this object in and of itself. But again, see what you think, what's going on in there. And then this scene is looking to the southwest. While I was driving, I had to catch what I could. I wanted to get a little more of this, but I couldn't catch it. But we looked to the right at the enhanced version, and I got enough. We've got this thing incising through, this kind of cloud-like mass. Is that a void or is this an object in here? Hard to say. But we have three perfect like curves, very clear curves if you follow my cursor, like a scalloped edge. It's very precise, very technical. So I suspect absolutely that this is cloak and craft. Something really strange happening up in here too. Even to the naked eye, that's not a normal cloud. It even looks like it's a pipe, like an open end here happening. So see what you see in that scene. And then a little bit later, this was just standalone, doing its own thing. That is in no world that I have lived here for many decades ever appeared up in the sky, anywhere around the world where I have lived. Now it's a little bit mappy and fuzzy because I couldn't get it too clear. Again, I was kind of driving and trying to be safe while driving and taking pictures. And but here I see some symmetrical elements happening here. Just looks too well organized just to be a haphazard cloud. See what you think. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more, and I put A, B, and C here because you see regularized openings, and to me that also implies, or really points a neon arrow to there's some type of intelligent design going on here when these are equidistant. Also, you see like a stick-like thing poking out this way and a stick-like thing going back out that way. That doesn't, look how rigid and straight that is. That's not an accident. To me there's intelligent design happening in there. Also, the cloud, cover usually doesn't turn yellow unless something's going on in there. And look at the field around it, just the strange patterns. That's not a cloud that's not a cumulus cloud. That's not any kind of cloud I have ever seen by the books. All right, now we're going to look over to the east-southeast, close to 1 p.m. And again, I'm driving by and I happen to see this going on in the sky. And I see these clear voids that they look very organized, these sky imprints. So here we go with enhancement. Again, that is not natural cloud activity. So once again, suspecting multiple craft going on up in here that are trying to camouflage or hide and quote-unquote cloud material, but this is not even cloud material. This looks nothing like a cumulus cloud, a cirrus cloud, stratocirrus, strato whatever you want to call it. That ain't it. So what is this other than cloak and craft? Especially when we get some type of more or less symmetrical shapes going on. Something's happening in here, and it's not natural. Okay, now we're going to look to the south a little bit later, and what caught my attention was this straight edge, and a straight edge here. It's an obtuse angle that does not happen in natural clouds. And here we go with some enhancement, and you can just see there's a whole lot of activity. Look at these two straight lines coming. This is doing its own thing, and these are entirely different altogether. Come on, that's not natural cloud activity in this area. And I want to say, this is Miami, Florida, where the climate is subtropical to tropical. And in decades of being familiar with this area, we never had clouds shaped like this, especially with straight edges. Are you kidding me? Anyway, see what you see in that scene. All right, now we're looking east-northeast, and what caught my attention was not only this strange patterning. Look how this point is like dovetailing into this form, and this also has a point to it. And the way this is fraying and just the movement and the densities of this are just, again, not behaving like typical clouds for this area, which, if anything, would just be cumulus clouds. Also, at this altitude, it's insanely low. And then we get this trail thing moving down here that at first I thought was a chemtrail, but it might be something else created by something else. And look how it banks up and has this sharp angle over. And again, this is not natural cloud behavior. So here we go. Oh, and give me one moment. Okay, I'm back. So with enhancement, this time around I just took out all color. Sometimes I like to do black and white or grayscale, just to get our mind, our brain to eye connection, maybe thinking and seeing things in a different way. And sometimes you can pull out or identify more things in a photo by doing that. Anyway, I start to see there might be an imprint of an object happening in here. So sometimes this stuff is just like a red herring, a distraction for maybe other bigger things going on in the scene. So it's important not to get too caught in the little details because we might be missing, the bigger picture. It's hard to say. That happens on a case-to-case basis. So anyway, let's keep moving. Here, I'll go back. I'm going to zoom in on this area right here. And here we go. Just looking at the strange nature of this. I'm not sure, again, what created it or why. And there we are with some enhancement, just to get a better look at it. Okay, now this is kind of a panorama. It distorts the view a little bit, but you get the idea. So here again is that weird thing. Again, you can see why I flagged it. What's that? What's causing that? And, just the weird nature of everything going on around it. None of these clouds even looks consistent, even though they're kind of more or less side by side at the same altitude. So to me, again, that's highly suspect of some cloak and craft activity going on, especially with this one at D.1. See what you see. Okay, now similarly, we're looking up at close to 6 p.m. and this thing looked really strange. So we're going to look at it to the right with enhancement. And again, I see these perfect holes, moving their way up. And this thing was morphing and changing in really weird ways. Again, look how perfect this scallop is. So we've got a perfect curve going on. Again, it's too precise and perfect just to be a typical cloud. If you really look, there's also holes, like a little elliptical, and holes that could be like exhaust ports or something. Who knows? But I can tell you that's not a natural cloud. I'm going to say, once again, cloak and craft. And then here we go looking at this scene. What caught my attention on the left was this roundish portion. Just looks strange. So we look to the right, and it's still pretty odd. Just the shapes and forms. And look here, this is like a trapezoidal figure with sharp edges. clean, sharp edge here and at the top and on the sides. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because there's a lot going on. It's the type of thing, the more you start looking, the more things you start seeing, sky imprints and triangles and whatnot. So anyway, we're going to move along. Actually, no, sorry, we're going to move in one more time. We're going to move in on that little weird shape. I was seeing that profile. And, I see why I was drawn to it, because we do have some type of object of substance being hidden in the cloak here and obviously down here. Okay, we're going to move along. Now, this is looking toward like 7:30, and we're looking at this. What is going on here? So here's a clear triangular imprint. If you see that darker shadow shape, right? And something's coming level to it, so that's no natural cloud activity. And no natural cloud is going to have stuff shooting off this way to the right, and then perfectly in the opposing angle off to the left as well. So there's nothing natural happening with this whole scene. See what you see, though. There's also another perfect triangle here. Look how it's cutting into this triangle. So we've got more rigid, symmetrical forms, which don't happen in natural clouds. I think this is also a triangular form happening in here. A lot of ones happening in here too. See what you see, and I don't even know what that is. That darker object here, more solid, denser white form here at 8.1, but look how sharp, how straight that and even that edge is. Now, we're looking to the east in the afternoon, and what caught my attention is this weird fraying, parallel frayed, parallel, like, I don't know, like spikes, perfectly aligned, and they're off on this angle. And then how do we have something moving at an opposing angle with a totally different character? This isn't like mirroring this, and even if it were, that still would be really strange. So, of course, we're going to look at it with enhancement. Look at this. What's going on at 8.1? And then equally weighted question, what's going on at B and C? Now, what's interesting here is we've got this void of something like, it looks like it moved through here, see, and like passed through this other stuff, this like cloaking material. And then look at this straight line and how it interrupts whatever's coming down this way. So to me, that tells me there's something parked right in there, probably like a cloaking craft or something, to make that kind of blind spot. See what you think's going on. I have no answers on this one. Sometimes, like I say, I lay out more questions than answers on these things. See what you see. What do you think's going on here? It's not natural, though. I'll wager on that, and I'm not a betting person. All right, so here we are with some enhancement. Again, I was just trying to get at what the heck's going on. I see this line even clearer, that we have a disruption. That means there's probably some cloaking object happening right in there. See what you see. Now this gets really interesting. We're looking northwest in the afternoon, and I noticed at first on the left-hand side at C, I just saw this line was looking really way too straight, and it started, appearing even more prominent at times. And so I looked to the right, with enhancement, and look, we have it's an exact, triangular form. And then what is happening here? That doesn't happen naturally within clouds. See what you think. Also at 8.1, we have this dark imprint happening. Look at this curve. Follow my cursor. We have a pointed or like pointed ellipse form, very dark, happening in here for sure. Symmetrical. So again, intelligence is involved there. All right, this is just a bizarre scene looking east. I just noticed that not only the weird profile of this thing that doesn't look like a natural cloud, but also this little wedge floating on its own. Also looks like an imprint happening down here at C. And with enhancement, some kind of object is a darker imprint happening at C. Also, look at this thing. It almost looks like that's the end of a pipe, like a cylinder is happening within this thing. See what you see. I see a lot of weird things happening also over here. Really bizarre scene. Also looks like a sky imprint here of a point, with two straight edges. So again, doesn't happen in natural clouds. Okay, now this is a little bit of a distorted panorama once again, but this was weird. I was out doing yard work and looked up, and I saw that this on the right-hand side was not matching up what was going on this left-hand side. And again, when we go up to the enhanced version above, we have an angle more or less going this way, and then one opposing going a totally different way. So again, that can't happen in a natural cloud system over the skies of Miami. And we got weird little holes and things going on over in here. And then this looks like something is jetting out, like this is a trajectory of like a craft that looks a little bit like a missile. And then we have something crossing, like making an X. So what's going on? I'm going to look just at that little missile part and the X part. We're going to zoom in. You see a clear line going this way. You see weird little things happening along this trajectory. What the heck is this? That's not a natural cloud. What do you think it is? All right, now looking off to the northwest, this was looking strange, a little too straight and even, especially compared to all the other stuff going on in the sky at this time. But what caught my attention was kind of like this profile. Looks like, look at this ridge line here and a smooth thing over here. So just things weren't really adding up as far as cloud behavior, creating a pattern like that. So with enhancement, just thought I'd see what else can we find. Can't see too much, but look, we got a perfect curve here. And meanwhile, everything else here is choppy. Yeah, I don't think so. So something's going on. I can't tell you what, but I can tell you that's not a natural form, at least natural. When I say natural, I'm just referring to, the classic catalog book of what you could point to and say, hey, that's a cumulus cloud, that's a cirrus cloud, that's a whatever cloud. We're not getting that here. So I have covered on other shows that some of these things I can't identify seem to have like a bioorganism, like an organic nature to them, and could absolutely be some kind of living organism. So I don't want to say that those aren't natural. If you get my meaning, that's my clarification there. All right, so now we're looking east, and it's in the morning. And what caught my attention right away is just something felt wrong, first of all. And then where my cursor is at A, that looks like a huge imprint of something going on and weird things happening to the left. So we look at the enhancement on the right, you can see it much better. Look how dark this is with a straight line here, sharp edge. Something's going on in here like a massive trapezoidal form. And then we get something really weird happening over here at B.1, something really strange happening on its own at C.1. And we also have to look at the color signatures. We've got golden warm light going on over here, and then a different kind of light is happening up above. Something very strange is happening in the scene, not to mention whatever this is doing below this imprint. See what you see is going on in there. Now, similarly, we're going to see this like peak of what's supposed to be a sun, but that's not our natural sun, nor is this glare out above. Natural sun is going to be more golden and yellow-like. So I believe, again, if you've looked at my previous shows, we talk about artificial sun, solar simulator. Other Earth and Sky watching channels talk about it too. And what's happening is that we've got our natural sun hidden behind an artificial sun that can grow really big and create a huge glare out to hide our natural sun happening beyond. Anyway, do have a look at my earlier shows and plenty of other Earth and Sky watching channels around that are documenting that as well. But on top of that strangeness, we have a weird form here looking like it's cloaking, and something back here too. There's stuff all over in this photo, but I'm just going to move along and hit the highlights here. So this is that weird form going on in the background. Look at that with enhancement. Bam, we see it. It just draws it right out. What is that? That's not a natural cloud. Then we're going to look at another part of town, looking up in the morning on a different day, I think. No, it might be the same day, different part of town though. Looking up at the sun, a little toward the east. So the sun is looking very white and artificial. It's also in the wrong place in the sky. That's a whole other story. But from where it should be. But then I started to see this cloud. I can't even really call it a cloud in quotes, diving down to obscure the quote-unquote sun. And it's making a crisscross. So natural clouds do not do that. And that is no way, shape, or form a natural cloud. Again, compared to decades of the past, days of yore, that ain't going to happen in our skies, yet it's happening now. So look at this. Look at this straight edge here, this one piece diving down. Looks like kind of like the end of a banana. Look at this thing. And then this is crossing, behind it, I'm presuming. We have some other dark shape happening here. And look at these two elements. Are those openings? Are those objects popping out a little bit? Hard to say. See what you think is happening in that scene. Okay, now this is just kind of floating on its own in the sky looking south toward the evening. It just looks strange, loosely put together. Again, no typical cloud that you can identify from the past. And then here we go with a little more enhancement. Looks like, this is a separate piece doing something. That looks like a triangular form, very clear. Look at this piece at B.1 sticking out, very much like a pipe, or it's a much bigger piece. Look at the straight edge down here. This whole thing is just really strange. Now, speaking of really strange, we're going to be looking to the west-northwest, and actually north-northwest, that should say. And this whole sky started to behave very strangely. We have an element up here kind of starting to make a triangular form. We have this doing its own thing, and something swooping in here off to the right. So with enhancement, this is what we see. And look at the color signature. Bam, lighting up red-pink with bright white in there as well, while everything around it is just dark. And then off to the north, it's fiery red down here. So what the hell is going on in this scene? Normally I say heck, but come on, it's really bizarre. And here you have a linear element and like a billowing roundish element. So those would not coexist in the same altitude. No way. And then we start to get specific shapes, like an arrowhead with a stick on it. What the heck is going on in here? And then we're going to look at a slightly different view, looking north, and look at this conical thing forming. It's not a tornado starting to form. It's a very specific, like cone-like form. And so we look at it with enhancement. Look at this. So we get a layering of this weird, atmospheric disturbance. I'm going to call that plasma cloaking a craft. And I'm not sure what's going on down here, but we get similar echoings of this type of form. All right, now we're going to take another view, still the north. And here we go, still. These are not acting like clouds. These are acting like craft with cloaking material in front of them. See what you can find in there. All right, now we're looking east, and it doesn't get any less strange. We have a perfect triangular form. Another thing happening over here. So with enhancement, look at that. Triangular form, perfect triangle over here at f.1. We have a weird thing dropping down with like arms, and then, we have a triangular form here and here. There's just a lot going on. 8.1, something odd is happening there as well. See what you see in this scene. Okay, now we're going to look back to the north. Things were still looking strange. And it looks like we have objects hiding in the cloaking material here. And look at this really strong edge on this curve. There's intelligent design happening with this thing at B.1. Almost looks like the tail fin of something. And that would be the dorsal side of some type of fish if the head were going down this way. It's just really strange. See what you see? Okay, now we're going to look at this too. This form, this darker form, looks like it has something banking up on angle, which wouldn't happen with a natural cloud. I don't get it too much more, but you can see like we've got parallel things happening over here, which also down by the lower right-hand corner. That's not natural clouds behaving, parallel to each other like that and so straight. And I can't really get it too much more what's happening here. Maybe you see something, but also I've noticed different color signatures. We get some red right in here while we have pure white over here. And so that tells me something's going on. All right, now we're going to look at this scene. Again, we've got a straight line at the top here, banking on an angle. Well, this is also going on a bit of an angle, and this is coming and doing its own thing. And so again, with some enhancement, we see some darker object is looming in here. And then we got weird objects kind of diving down on different angles, doing their own thing. So I got to say, it's cloak and craft activity. And when I say, when I look at photos like this, and it looks very choppy and fuzzy, even to the human eye, naked eye, I call that the staccato cloud effect or staccato effect. It's a musical term, but it just seems to suit what's going on here, and that's what I like to call it. All right, so let's move on. Now, a strange storm started to move in, and things were coming in at different angles, extremely low in the sky. So I just started to capture it as it was happening. I'm going to go back, look at see what is going on here while this is coming down this way to a point. So anyway, I'm just identifying certain areas. I invite you to look at this scene on your own when you have a little more time and see what you can see. But it's just strange that this is coming down at an angle. It looks like a hole, like the edge of a pipe down here. It's just really weird stuff. And with different, enhancing it in a different way, we see that this is doing its own thing completely, like banking on a totally different angle. So this whole thing is quite a mystery. See what you see. Okay, then looking to the east, here's that form again at A, and it's connected to what looks like a triangular form at B. So we look at the right-hand side, and mainly on this one, I want to point you to D, letter D like David, D like dog. Look at this. An absolute triangular form with a straight edge at the bottom. So a lot of mysterious, strange activities going on in here. I bet you can find some all kinds of interesting things later on in your own time. But yeah, look, even in the structure and the patterning in here, really strange and not behaving like clouds at all. All right, now we're going to look to the north over here on the left-hand side. And what caught my attention was strange things were kind of forming at sea. And so we look to the right-hand side with enhancement. What's really weird is the color signature here because it's like greenish, something different's happening at B.1, and it's just really, really odd. Little like bursts of purple in here. It just felt really, really bizarre. So I do believe we're catching something cloaking as it's morphing and changing with the cloaking material. Okay, now this one gets really interesting. Toward the evening, looking west, what I notice is look at this pure curve where my cursor is toward B. Really perfect straight edge curve. I'm not straight edge, but perfect edged curve, very precise. So we look to the right hand side and look at that. You see that curve? how sharp that line is what I'm trying to say. That's definitely a cloak and craft right in there. And then look what's coming down at 8.1. It's dark, and we have these two parallel lines. Really, really strange too. There's a story here. What do you think's happening? And then we look at C.1 with more or less parallel lines happening down here too. I'm going to say there is craft riddling this whole area. And actually, I think that's part of the tail of a bigger craft if you follow my cursor. See what you see? Oh, again, all of this disturbance, this staccato cloud effect to me means multiple craft or one really large craft above that's either sending out deliberate frequencies to disturb the atmosphere to cloak craft, or it just might be a byproduct of whatever is powering that thing, or it could be the heat of it, that's starting to disturb the atmosphere. See what you think. Okay, now we're looking at this little oddity here at A. Look to the right. Not only is it odd in and of itself, of these parallel things, more or less, but look at, we have an object sitting right in the middle of one. And that's like a roundish object here and a perfect symmetrical curve here, like we're looking at half of a pipe underneath. So I'm absolutely going to say that's cloak and craft. You better believe it. Now we're going to zoom in. Look at this. So we have a pronounced figure in here with shadow and like the straight edge. And then what's this thing? And then this is really intriguing. Look at that. That's a perfect curve. Really straight edge. Hard-edged perfect curve. All right, now we're going to look up to the north, and this was looking too perfect too. Look at this. We're going to look to the right. That's like a egg-like form, elliptical form. And look how perfectly curved. We've got some incised line right around it, like an outline. So perfect and true. And then we have weird things moving in all different directions. So again, that's not natural cloud as it sails across the sky. This is organized. This has intelligent design to it. It has a symmetry. And yeah, see what you think is happening there. Okay, now this is at night, looking north at around 11 p.m. Left-hand side's the original. And what I like to do is, even if you can't really pick up much with your camera, when you just take a straight-out picture of the night sky, play around with it, and you can see stuff still emerging nonetheless. So it just felt weird, and then I can see why. Look at 8.1. I'm seeing a triangle form here on the brightest part of this yellow-orange kind of color. And then look at this straight line. This one's coming down this way a little. This is coming down in the opposite direction. What the heck is that mess? What's going on? You know what I'm going to say. Cloak and craft's involved. I even see a dark triangular form here with cloaking material in front of it. See what you see. Now, this is looking out of a third or fourth story view out of a building through glass. However, I did see all of this with the naked eye, so none of this is dirt or anything happening on the glass itself. So look at this. We're looking to the northwest. How do we have this dark straight thing here, another one echoing in the back? We have something going on this angle, something coming back reverse on a totally different angle, something doing its own thing here, something shooting up vertical, this coming out very horizontal and up on, straight edge here. All of it, totally bizarre. So let's look at it with some enhancement. Here we go. I have a triangular form of cloaking material in front of it. A straight line like this looks very similar to this thing, so yes, I'm calling this cloak and craft. And what the heck is going on with this thing? Anyway, see what you see in this overall scene. I think it's also bizarre that we get a burst of pure white while everything else has a color, and there was no flash on the camera. That's not a flash. Anyway, let's continue on. Now, here's another strange scene looking northwest toward the evening. Look at, not only do we have these strange voids, okay, right? We're going to hop over to the right and look at the color signatures. So right here, if you follow my cursor, is pure white, like glaring white, right? And then we get warmer tones happening beyond. And then even up here, we start to see some warm tones. So what the heck is going on in this overall scene? No clouds behave like this, at B.1, none. And I also start to see an imprint of a triangular form here. Have fun looking at this one. This was a stumper. I can only say cloak and craft once again. Okay, now we're going to look to the southeast, and what was looking strange to me in the original version on the left was, it seemed to have like something pulling away from this form with a kind of pure circle or elliptical form. We look to the right, and here we go. We see that form. It looks like two arms or hands are holding it in place, and then we got something strange coming into the scene at 8.1. All of it, high strangeness. This thing too, look, it has like little squiggle legs or something coming down on something. See what you see in this scene. It's very bizarre. Okay, speaking of bizarre, we're looking to the west, and that's not a cloud shape I know of ever in the past, nor this. And how is it that side by side, same altitude, this one's gray, this one is not? Yeah, that doesn't happen. So here's with some enhancement, we get some strange things starting to pop up a little bit. We're going to really look at B.1 because that one really stood out like a sore thumb. And here we go. So to me, we're looking at an overall craft, and we're looking at it kind of from a side view, a little bit from the top. And if you go with me here, you'll see it better in the enhanced version. I'm saying that this is the bow where we've got the point, and these are like two side wings or jets, and this would be the cockpit. Okay, so here's what I mean. You can see this straight running line coming through here, running theme here, right? And over here as well. And then this would be like the top of it. And you see symmetry with like that would be a jet, and this would be a jet. Almost like these are like pontoons on the side. But see what you see. All right, now this is going to be a video clip. All of a sudden, oh, sorry about the time here. It should say 6:13, not 6:61:13 p.m. We're looking northwest. Now, all of a sudden, this strange storm really came into the area very quickly from the north, and it started getting stranger by the minute. And I can honestly say, after being familiar with this area for many decades, I've never seen anything like this in the skies overhead. It really felt like there's cloaking stuff going on up there, and it was really low in the sky. Also, it had really ethereal white light going on. If you follow my cursor, very otherworldly, supernatural light. And this entire storm system was riddled with this weird, bright light. And to the north, where, you know, there should only be like really intense light like that coming from the west, where there was sunset. Yet it was all overhead, which is another indicator that there's cloak and craft, there's craft activity, making its own kind of little system, hiding in its own little storm system. Anyway, I'm going to play the video. Here's that ethereal light, and just really strange movement of this stuff. The top, and watch the movement of it, watch how it's dipping down, and how it's warm, and yet all this bright stuff is true north and straight overhead, which again is an impossibility for this time of day. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So here's stills of what I just showed you. So here there was a weird kind of looked like an opening with this ethereal white light all over the place, while we have some of the strangest cloud movement activity I've ever seen. Now, I can't even say that this is done by human hand. I was thinking at first somebody's done a lot of dropping of cloud seeding of chemicals to create this weird local disturbance. But no, I gotta say this is otherworldly, so ET involvement. Maybe it's a collaboration between ET and military, I don't know. But it could also just be some other type of advanced ET tech to create this. Because look at how we've got this white light, and then, you know, all mixed in with other types of things happening in here at the same time. Very, very strange. Now, also strange, going on in the same system, was looking up. These forms were being backlit. Look at this. Look at that. It almost looks like a mangrove seed pod, if you know what those look like. But this little tube, or like cigar. And then, look at this. No natural clouds do that. Very, very strange. So here, let's watch this other clip. This one gets very interesting. So watch where my cursor is. This is a white triangular cloud moving independently from everything else, and it is booking it, and it is extremely low, like really almost touching the tree top, while everything else is pressing down low and doing its own thing. So watch this one. Keep your eye on this triangle too. Okay, now its movement rate is much stronger, faster. Total fast acceleration of this thing relative to everything right around it just is like hardly moving, and this thing is booking it across. So that's a very, very odd, and I'm going to say that's an independent cloaking craft. I'm going to play it again. Keep an eye on this thing too, the other things too, but you know, especially how fast this thing is moving. Now, it's also moving in this direction while this is moving in somewhat that direction. So you figure that one out. Here we go. We're going to look at other things too. So here's our, you know, triangular cloud, independent cloud again. I am now catching it after it's moved around across the way a bit. And look how low it is in relative to the trees. I'm going to show it as it moves a little more and it starts to fall apart a little bit more. But there's things in there that still hold its general structure. So again, I got to say that's cloaking in a way that's hard to understand. But here we go. Okay, So the whole scene was very bizarre. But now we're going to move along. Now we're going to watch this clip, and I'm not really going to say anything. Just note again, though, the bright, intense white spots above all this dark stuff. And again, it's happening to the north where it shouldn't be. Sorry, I have bugs that are attracted to me. I'm recording outside, and I've got like bugs attracted to the light. All right, here we go. Okay, so anyway, the overall scene is really strange. Thought I would share that with you. We'll look at a couple more views. Just very, very strange sky. I'm doing it this way just to show color signatures, also very strange, all over the place. We even have a dark object up here in the upper right. It's kind of ring-like or C-shaped, very strange. So again, I gotta say there is all kinds of cloak and craft activity going on overhead in this thing. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. Now to the left again, very odd. What we're looking at, burst of activity up here of energy where it shouldn't be with the light. And here we look to the right and we just see that burst, and then we get reds and we get this dark object over here and greens. It's just a really wild scene. And then we have this. So this is an overall symmetrical shape. If you look to the right, you can see it better. There's the point. There's one part of it here. The other part of it here looks very symmetrical. This is just my finger in the foreground, so ignore that. But what is going on? It even has like a perpendicular element on this thing. So again, symmetry, hard lines, that shows us that's intelligent design. Now we're looking at another scene, just looking up, and again, look at this at A. That's nearly a right angle. Nothing in the sky does that cloud-wise, okay? So here we've got that very strong form. And other weird things happening. So with enhancement, I want to capture that 8.1. Look at that. You know, that's tech. There's no way no natural cloud is going to do that on its own. And we've got rigid pieces here too. But look at that pipe, and it's back, you know, something coming back that way as well. Then keep your eye on D.1. Look at this. You know, arrow tip, or whatever you want to call it. Very precise as well. Something is going on up here with intelligent design. That's all I'm going to say. Alright, now we look at a scene looking west, and what's weird here is, watch this overall dark mass above, and look at what's going on at sea. Also weird stuff happening all over here. But look at this. Big dark mass, and look at this, looks like a tentacle, like we have a sky kraken. You know, if the head is down here somewhere. That absolutely looks like a tentacle. Look the way it's moving. Regardless, no natural cloud is going to do that. Bank off on a sharp angle like that. So see what you see. Also something strange happening at 8.1. I can't tell you quite what. See what you're finding in here though. Alright, now we're looking south, and this gets strange as well. So all over the place we see these strange forms are backlit. Very specific. So how do you have cloud moving straight across and then coming down like this? All within the same vicinity? The answer is you don't if it's natural. And so it's not. So let's look, and also this wall of cloud was like going vertical. Very strange. So let's look to the right. Now what really caught my attention was not only do we have a dark form that looks like it's almost planting a foot down on whatever this is. We have these things moving across, some weird movement happening down here we'll get to later. But look at this. We have perfect curve where my cursor is along the bottom, perfect curve along the top. I think this entire thing is one big craft. It even has some, looks like craters or openings on the surface of this thing. It's truly bizarre. So we're going to zoom in again, that weird little thing that says, they said looks like it's planting a foot down on the top of this thing. And then we have these two things moving across, different color signatures happening. I think we have a lot of very bizarre things that can't be explained right now going on in that scene. Now I'm going further where I said it was looking weird, and look what we have moving on down here. This weird kind of fuzz out, that's not a natural cloud, and it went really straight up pretty far. Weird stuff happening off here too. So we go to the right, and look at this. We have a very dark object here, something dark here. Something looks like it's flying out over here. Something, you know, pulling down out here. This looks like maybe a triangular form that's kind of broken apart camouflage-wise. It's just all really strange. And why am I getting this green signature? That's, again, not typical. The whole scene, really, really bizarre. All right, now also bizarre looking to the east. Look at this form. That's not a cloud, natural cloud form. We've got a sharp edge here, you know, straight edge here. Acting very strange. We've got the staccato cloud effect where things are getting choppy and fuzzy, even to the naked eye. So here with enhancement, ignore this little B.1, I forgot to erase it. Actually, all these other little greenish, olive green letters, just strike those out. That was a copy over from another slide. I didn't erase them. But look at, we got weird activity going on in here. Dark. Again, actually, if you look at this as being the front, we have an arm here and a symmetrical arm going out there. So I'm going to say that's some type of craft coming toward us. And weird stuff happening in here that looks like something's coming in and out of state of camouflage. See what you can see. We're going to zoom in on just that one piece. And look how strange this is. Really, really strange. And look how strange this is too, with a very straight edge. Straight edges happening in there. See what you see. All right, now we're going to go back to the north. Now, here's what I started seeing. I've seen it on some other Earth and Sky Watching channels, this kind of effect. To me, I first thought, okay, this is human technology dropping some seeding in here of silver iodide or whatever it is they use to do this. But I think this is actually the effect of Cloak and Craft above creating this one. Weird color signatures again, bright burst of white, yet everything else kind of has different colors. See what you can see. Now we look off to the northeast just from where we were, and we had a really weird pattern, disrupted pattern in the sky here. The local atmosphere seems really disrupted, yet we have specific forms, doing their own thing here. So we look to the right, and look how weird the texture is here. We have like a half circle, very distinct shape here, while this stuff is doing its own thing, not behaving like clouds at all. See what you see. I'm going to go back. We're going to zoom in on E.1. Zoom in. I really blasted out the brightness just to see if we have any objects hiding in there. Perhaps they are. See what you see. And we're looking to the northwest here, and look at, again, we have a truncated triangular form and like a rod. It's just strange. Look at all the crisscrossing, like tracings, not behaving like natural clouds. And you can see it even better here on the enhancement. So what are we looking at? Leave that to you. Look at this as like a perfect semicircle with a body. To me, this is a craft we're looking at. Same thing here. This has a ring, perfect circle. I don't know what we're quite seeing. Are we seeing different like craft and then something else is like bursting off to go off like in hyperspace style, and we're just seeing the flash as it leaves? Is this a much bigger craft and these are elements of it? I don't know. See what you think. All right, well, this is the photo of the day and the close of the show. Thanks for having a look at some things that really stand out here a while. This is just a beautiful petal from a blossoming Royal Poinciana Tree in bloom in Miami, Florida. And I just caught it as it's sitting on a asphalt pavement that had just been rained upon. Anyway, as always, I wish all of you beautiful right now and tremendous peace and love. Till next time, Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.